Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Backcast, the podcast that we do when we're talking about games and not playing them. And this week, I'm Dan. I'm joined by Joe.
Thanks, Dan. I am Joe, as always.
As always, you're Joe. And we have something a little special. If you're sick of Monster Hunter, I'm sorry. That's what this one's going to be.
It's our Monster Hunter episode.
And this is it. The game is out. We've had a couple of days with it, but we've had but we've lost a lot of time.
We put a lot of time into it. Sadly,
we're kind of
way too much time.
We're hardcore, casual hardcore. I don't know. We put days into this already. We're like
days worth of average gaming time.
Well, I don't. I know we were bouncing in and out of that PSN party that we had.
Oh yeah,
that chat. When I bounced out of it, it had been running for 15 hours.
Oh geez.
Yeah, and I wasn't the last man out. And I'm
glad I wasn't in the entire time.
Neither was I, but still. And that was in one day. So, like I said, casual, hardcore, casual, we have a problem. And I can admit that, but I'm not going to do anything about it.
Our problem is Monster Hunter.
So we're we'll start very briefly by talking about the other things.
We'll talk about not Monster Hunter first.
Yeah, so
we'll move on to the meat.
And we also might get out of this pretty quickly because, we have
more monsters to kill. Yeah.
Rathalos and Diablos are waiting for us.
It is true.
So, Joe, what not Monster Hunter have you been playing?
Pretty much just World of Warcraft at this point.
Okay.
Outside of Monster Hunter, I still raiding, and not really much new news there. Still doing progression on heroic bosses and whatnot.
Yeah, last raid of the expansion.
Yep, last raid, and we're getting there. I think we're third boss from the end. So we're getting there. But it's
is it 14 as normal?
Is it 14? I think it is.
That's about the number.
Yeah,
12 to 14.
I think it is 14.
Okay.
So we're 11 of 14, as the kids say.
Yeah. Those kids that play well,
as the kids say. Yeah, exactly. And little bit slower than that on the other team, but yeah. Doing good. Still having a lot of fun. Still working on gearing up.
Right. And then
I do.
You were saying that expansion.
The new expansion is on the horizon. Obviously, we heard about it at BlizzCon and saw their opening cinematic. But recently, we've had a bit of a data mine that has shown us a whole lot of new mounts, character models, lots more information about the allied races that are coming out.
Stuff we don't usually see till a lot farther in.
Yeah, typically. But I get the distinct impression that as we're seeing the speed of things on the PTR increase, that it's possible that that new expansion is going to come sooner than a year from now, which is what everyone's kind of typically complaining about.
Right, because it's usually they announce it and it's 18 months away.
It's a really long time away, but this feels, I don't know, it may be just like wishful thinking on my part, but it does feel like they're already pretty far along.
Has it been 6 months since the announcement yet?
I don't know.
Because it was BlizzCon, right?
I don't really pay that much attention to BlizzCon. I enjoy all the trailers and the aftermath of BlizzCon. I don't actually pay that much attention to
it. Fair enough. Okay.
But it seems like things might be on a somewhat accelerated pace to get us into the pirates of the next expansion, which does seem pretty cool. Lots of new skeleton models for every race. Don't know what that's going to mean. There's a giant Brontosaurus mount that looks really, really cool. It's not your just standard Brontosaurus by any means. Of course, it's armored and it's got spikes, and I feel like I could hunt it in Monster Hunter.
It's motorized, because WoW.
Yeah. Oh, and that was another. Speaking of motorized things, you are familiar with Mimiron's head, the gnome, the mechanical gnome head that you can farm out of Old War.
Tread wisely on this.
They are coming out with a goblin version. It's not Mim's head.
Yeah.
It's a goblin mount that is a goblin head, mechanized. It's got a Gatling gun mounted on the bottom of it.
Okay.
It's pretty cool looking.
Unless you could fire the Gatling gun. I don't care if it does damage. I just want to fire it.
I don't know. Again, this is all just we just seen these things.
Yeah.
We haven't actually we're not seeing anything animated. It's all real early still. And just kind of some interesting new NPC models as well, like turtle people. And in the wake of Monster Hunter here, there's also a new cat-like race.
Interesting.
That's kind of interesting looking. Very small, very much like the Palicos of Monster Hunter.
Okay.
But really cool looking. And yeah, it's really encouraging what's going on. Yeah, and then we've had a few weird kind of messages from the devs as well about their like motivations for how they're going to balance and do class design this time around.
Okay.
So they're trying to like bring back some of the uniqueness that did exist before, like class-specific buffs and things like that.
Okay.
Where you have to bring, each class
enforced diversity.
Enforced diversity. But I enjoyed it before. It was that way a long, 4 expansions ago? Three expansions ago? I don't remember. You used to have buffs that you could cast for the whole raid, and it wasn't bad. I kind of understand why they baked some of it in and took some of it out. But
I liked when they made it automatic. By being there, you buffed everyone. That was
and
nice.
that does exist still. That's still there. Certain things, like I think with, I don't know if it's still the case, but I know with Shadow Priest, when you were in shadow form, it gave everyone some kind of a buff. I don't remember what it was. But they're bringing. It sounds like they're bringing some of that back, and they're going to try and rebalance everything. And now that we're losing the artifacts, there's a lot of mechanical effect on people's rotations and stuff like that. So they're trying to like tread carefully as they remove artifacts. They don't want to kind of destroy the way these classes work because they're designed around having those abilities.
They respect them to work with artifact powers.
Yeah, very much. And so they're going to try. They're talking about like baking certain things in and whatnot. But
it's like, hey, you carried Doomhammer around for 2 years. You now know how to cast Doom Winds all the time.
Well, and I mean, I know a lot of people complain about artifact power as a thing, but I think in general people enjoyed the artifacts themselves.
I thought it was cool. It was a neat idea. It was fascinating.
Yeah, and since they're taking those out, we kind of lose a big chunk of the game. So I think they're going to what it sounds like from what the developers are saying is they're rolling it into that kind of progression system into the new Azurite armor.
Okay,
that's going to be. So I think it's going to be more. I mean, that seems like high-end gear to me, and it's, I don't know, it's intriguing. We don't know a ton about it yet, but it seems like they're going to try and replace the current artifact progression with actual gear.
Okay.
So each piece of gear, I imagine, is probably going to have certain ability things that you can unlock or upgrade and build throughout the expansion.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. We don't know a ton yet, but we are starting to see more and more, it seems, on a more regular basis. So I getting my hopes up that it's going to come sooner rather than later.
Dangerous, but okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely.
Well, that's very neat. And that is your WoW Minute.
That's my WoW Minute. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I have actually been watching a TV show on
that's
Hulu.
Not gaming.
No, it's not, but it's what I've been filling my time with.
All right.
Curse of Oak Island, which is this, I hate the way it's filmed and it's edited. It's clearly like it's made for people with the attention span of about 3.5 minutes.
So modern America.
Modern reality shows were like, hey, remember when we showed this to you 3 minutes ago? Oh yeah, we went on a commercial break, so we're gonna rehash this again.
Oh, it's like that. Okay. Oh, so it's like just a constant
constantly.
That's
so if it's like the first season is 5 episodes, and if it's 5
episodes, that's all.
Is the first season? It's 10, and then each season gets longer.
I mean, I can watch 5 episodes easily enough.
Yeah. But it starts off, these guys, one of them's a retired postal worker. His brother started his own energy company, which is to say oil company, which is to say he's loaded.
Right on.
So they bought this a controlling share of an island in Canada that's got this, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Money Pit.
I am actually aware of this story. I've heard about it on a podcast, fairly in depth. So I'm aware of what it is.
Well, I won't get too in depth with it. But anyway, they're basically digging for what could be buried treasure. Yeah. And they think it's pirate treasure initially, and they're like, oh, there's all these things going around with it. And you're like, all right, that's cool. And at least 1 or 2 people they bring on who's like, I'm an expert in this field, or I'm just a guy who's an enthusiast. I think it's this. And now it
sounds like not much has changed since I heard about it the first time.
Very quickly got to the Masons and the Templars.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Almost
there's,
right off
There's
the
a
bat.
lot of like archaeological kind of confusion around this whole, and that's why people are so interested in it.
Right. And
it seems weird, and it seems like there could be something there.
Well, here's the thing, is they're finding stuff that dates from either like 1700 back to like 1200 AD. And that's kind of hilarious.
It is super interesting.
Well, what's super interesting is they also talk about these art, like some guy takes them to not on the island but someplace close that has an 8-pointed star. Ooh. Which he's like, well, if you know this is actually this Phoenician symbol, and also the Indian tribe, this First Nation people that are there actually have this 8-pointed star as their symbol, but it matches. So I think that the Phoenicians actually came over in 500 BC. And there's a bunch of stuff, but I will say this that's actually kind of fascinating is this the Mi'kmaq people or whatever it is. Spoiler from season 2. They show you they show you a Templar battle flag, and the Mi'kmaq people's nation flag is that, but it's flipped. It is straight up the exact same flag, just flipped.
I love conspiracies,
but it's like, no, this is their
it's not
flag.
really a conspiracy,
but it's like, it's like and people like lose their minds when they're saying this. Like, oh, it's the Masons and the Templars, and some guys like, well, I believe that.
Correlation equals causation,
right? Exactly. So. my favorite theory was the guy saying like, I actually think the Templars were here, but they were here looking just like everyone else. Not that they were the ones burying. Anyway, it's great. The cinematography is terrible because it's there's one where they're trying to say like, oh, look at what's going on, and they're actually literally shaking the camera, but you can tell nothing's actually shaking because they're showing people who are just standing there calmly going, hey, you should the thing's sinking, you should be careful. But they're shaking it like the earth is shaking
itself. This sounds so bad. I'm going to have to check this out.
It's fascinating. And
you said that's on Hulu, right?
It is on Hulu.
Okay.
But I've gotten to the point where I'm half paying attention because I know I can miss like whole episodes, and they're just going to recap it 4 times in the next episode, so who cares?
So you're not going to miss anything.
I'm not going to miss anything. Anyway.
The joys of reality television.
I have been enjoying that for a lot of things. Also, they're just digging holes, and they're like, oh...
Yeah, I'm a big fan of watching like the Gold Rush shows. That's a bunch of dudes just digging holes. So
I'm worried though because Hulu's now recommending I should watch the show Ancient Aliens.
I've watched that.
I kind of want to.
I watched that. It's not good.
Yeah, but
I love alien stuff, so
yeah,
it's fun to watch.
Oh, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. You seen that meme? The dude with the funky hair. It's anyway.
Memes, yes.
Check in later. I might be monster hunting and watching Ancient Aliens. Because,
there you go.
Sure, but let's get into it.
Let's get into the real.
We've given people about 15 minutes of not Monster Hunter.
Not Monster Hunter. Like strap in, kids.
Yeah, strap in.
It's gonna get real.
So here we go for the ride that is Monster Hunter. Joe, give me your elevator pitch on what Monster Hunter is.
I mean,
this is still early game. We haven't beaten it by any means.
We've very early game still. Like we're barely opening up new areas, and beautiful game. You're a hunter, and you're on an island that is
a continent. It's the new. It's the new world.
It's the new continent. Sure, yeah, and it's populated by horrific beasts, and you are tasked with hunting them and killing them, capturing them, carving them to bits.
And making armor out of their bits.
Stuff out of their bits, yeah.
Right.
It's a beautiful game. And we're playing on PS4. It's out on the Xbox as well, and eventually will be out on PC.
Autumn is what they're thinking?
Yeah. We'll probably check back in with it again at that point.
I'm in danger of picking it up on PC, I'll say. Just straight up.
It is infinitely replayable. It seems crazy how much is in this thing.
Right.
After... a day of playing it, I'm still incredibly overwhelmed. It's a lot of systems. None of this is bad. This is all great things. Like I have no complaints about this. It's just like kind of shocking.
There's just
the amount of stuff available.
There's I guess the ship captain shows up occasionally, and you can. I don't even know what he does. Have you unlocked the melding pot?
Yes.
I don't even understand that, but I guess you can give them give them items to get other items.
Right, just like the botanist. Yeah, you can have them cultivate. You can give them items so they can cultivate other items.
Is that how it works?
Well, just like the melding. Yeah, like you. Then I think you're just farming more things.
Because I read the tutorial made it sound like you give them something that's not what you want, and if you have enough points to put in there, you get the item you want.
Oh, interesting. I didn't read it that closely. I have not messed with it yet because that was about the last thing I did in town.
I was falling asleep. I was kind of late when I was like, oh, that's a thing. And like the ship captain thing, I was like crashing. I'm like, oh, there's an exclamation point. I should see if it's a quest. Oh, no, it's a new system.
Yep. It's just like, hey, more systems, more ways to grind, more ways to upgrade your stuff.
Yo, dog, we heard you like systems.
Yeah, man, this is definitely...
and there's also, like, you have...
Definitely Exhibit's favorite game.
let's get it. Let's get into the basic structure. I will say this. I do want to mention one thing though. For despite being a harsh, I heard or I saw a headline of a game reviewer trying to characterize it as Dark Souls meets Jurassic Park.
I'd say that's accurate.
To a point, but here's the thing: is that Dark Souls does not have whimsy.
Very true.
And not to get too far ahead, there's a Pokemon level of whimsy going on in this game.
Absolutely.
I can think of no other game that has whimsy on this level, while also all of a sudden if you're like, I'm going to stop and think about this for a second. Oh my, it's actually kind of dark, let's say. Like it could be a dark and terrible place, but everybody's having such a good time.
Yeah, it's like Dark Souls if there was just a constant like boat party going on,
right? Or like everybody's like high on some kind of upper.
Like, everyone's just
everything's terrible, but it's cool, man.
Come on, man, let's go kill some stuff.
I mean, you don't die, you faint.
Yeah,
and your palicos put you on a cart and run you to safety.
I mean, maybe we should start there. You have a cat companion called a palico.
Yeah,
dumb puns, cat puns for days in this game.
I'm surprised I had not heard of this game just for the level of puns. Like you have the chef. Well, we'll get to the chef. There's a cat that's a retired palico hunter.
Yes,
that is just this ripped dude, and he makes like workout puns. But says things like, "Oh, I'm going to put more protein in your food." I was like,
he's pretty great.
You know, at one point he was telling me that the menu is going to be so stacked you're going to make gains just for reading it.
Oh man, it's so good. It's very well written as well.
Oh,
and not that it's like the deepest like story by any means. It's pretty basic, but
someone spent so much time.
The individual characters, I feel, are a lot of personality, a lot of stuff like they have to offer as far as that all goes, and you can pretty much interact with everybody. Like they all have something to say. Like all of the random NPCs running
that they
around, randomly
spawned.
Random NPCs just everywhere. They have some comment to make about what you're doing on this continent, and it's impressive.
Right,
it's very full featured, and like the multiplayer's great. Everything seems to just jive.
Yeah. It's definitely a complete package, and I mean, what I want to say, I'm kind of in love with the setting. I love this idea that you're just out on this new world, and hey, there's monsters. The elder dragons flock here every 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, as the plot goes, like that's kind of why you're at this thing
to figure out
why these giant dragons are hanging out.
Well, yeah, I've actually
and migrating to this continent.
I've got the point where they've had the reveal on what that is, and that's pretty cool. We're not going to go into that. But they give you hey, this is why we think this is, but something's a little different this time, and
it's very anime, very anime as far as like the way things all interact.
The progression, like they're like,
we're not progression is very much.
We're just going to jump from plot point to plot point. If you can't connect the dots, I'm sorry. Just
roll with it. I got to be honest, I don't read a lot of it. I'm just like, whatever. I want to go kill monsters. Just click, 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 get out of it.
Right,
and
I
don't feel like I'm missing anything.
No, you don't need it, but it's also great. It's if it's there, you're like, okay, this is a good enough reason for us all to be here. And
there you go. I mean, there's your apt comparison to Dark Souls. Like it's not like spelled out for you, but it's all like it's very well, like a well-built world, very well constructed. You kind of understand why you're there, what's happening
just by looking.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to know who all these characters are. They do give you way more about a lot of these characters than Dark Souls does. But
right. I want to find out more about the dude who's like the commander's right hand man, the guy who doesn't talk but just
he just chills,
sick armor, and he's just there to hunt monsters.
He's like nods
and chew bubble gum.
He just nods.
It goes like he goes right, and then that's it. I think that's all he said. Is that once. So it's nothing but awesome. In this the food we should get into.
Yeah, it's a big part of the game, and it's kind of the first thing you do before you
hunt. You eat.
On a hunt. Yeah, you have to eat. This is a very buff-centric game.
I think I should say it's an RPG in that the gear gives you stats, but your character never changes.
Yeah, so you're not leveling up base stats of any kind.
Right, you are you're just the person
dude,
beginning to end.
You're the same hunter dude that showed up on the continent from day one, and you're just hunting and getting better at learning.
Right, your skill set needs to improve. Your
skill set improves as you hunt, and your gear is what powers you up.
Right, and your ability to kill monsters is what empowers your gear.
Very Dark Souls.
Very Dark Souls.
Very Dark. I know. I hate to keep jumping back to it, but it does feel that way. And we'll get more into that. But no, the food is
gets buffs, a wide range of buffs.
Wide ranges of buffs, and it's all fully animated.
Oh, and it looks amazing.
It's all about showing you these great plates of food that you just pig out on.
Speaking of whimsy,
yeah, it's a great video. Like you're watching all these Palico chefs like going nuts.
Yep, and they're just
creating a fine dining experience.
Right, and they're just everybody's and the meats like you can see the grease like dripping off of it, or like the moisture, and everything's popping, and your dude just tears into it with such abandon.
It's good. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
incredibly whimsical, but yeah, it's really interesting as a weird focal point in this game.
Because here's the thing: is you get side quests to unlock other food items, and you can customize your food plates at a point to get certain buffs if you're trying to. And there's only a chance that they'll activate off of any food. And I assume as you get the better foods, it's more and more of a
guaranteed chance.
A guaranteed chance. Yeah,
we're still really early on, so these more advanced food things.
Also, we're new to the series.
That into. Yeah, we're brand new to the series.
Yeah. So as we're doing that, we're learning about all the things. Just always eat, always get your buff because it'll increase your health, increase your stamina. As you're out hunting and running around, if you're running around too long, your maximum stamina bar decreases, and you have like food like rations out on the fly. That as you're running around, you just tear into those, and that reinvigorates your stamina.
Or which I have found and love doing, you just whip out a little spit over a fire.
Yes.
And you just stick a raw chunk of meat on and start rotisserieing it right there.
To a musical minigame.
To a music. Is there music to it? I didn't even notice.
There's music. Yeah, there's a little bit of music. You need to listen closely. And when the music stops, right as it stops, you hit circle.
Okay.
And you
I just figured out the timing. So now I'm just like, I know like when to hit it, like regardless. I didn't realize there was a musical component.
There's a musical component to it.
That'll make it easier.
Right. And then if you go too short, it stays raw. If you go too long, it burns and has a lower effect.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want...
You want it nice? Well done.
A well done steak.
which is unfortunate because I'm way into rare.
Well, and if you
give me a nice bloody steak.
That's why you eat at what people used to call, I guess it was used to call the cat kitchen in other games, the canteen.
The canteen.
I'm surprised they don't call it the cat teen, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a little too.
That's a little too. But
it also doesn't really illustrate what it is.
Yeah, I guess.
You'd have to know that it was called the canteen in order for it to make that pun work.
That's a fair enough point. Anyway, that food is more medium rare, and you can see it's cooked to the proper amount.
It's cooked delightfully.
You're on the field. You don't want to get salmonella while you're running around. Or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, you want to keep your stamina up while you're out running around in the world, completing other objectives. And it doesn't even matter if you're running or whatever. It just
it also affects your combat as well because certain moves that you're doing do spend stamina.
Even I run the heavy bow gun, which we'll get into the different weapons here in a bit. It doesn't matter because you have to dodge, you have to roll, you have to exert stamina when you're fighting, and that depletes. And when you get real low, you have yourself a problem. And you gotta eat meat.
Yeah, gotta. There are no vegans in Monster Hunter.
Well, there is a vegetarian dish in the canteen.
That's right. There is a vegetarian dish. I forgot about that.
But yeah, mostly it's meat though. You're in a Monster Hunter world. You're eating meat,
and everything is like the entire. I don't know. It's like weird. It's like all humans are the hunters, and the cats are your helpers,
are your pals, your palicos.
But they also like run all of the food industry, and then like the research division of this is also like weird gnome type
wyverians.
Is that what they are?
Well, you hear people talk about wyverians. In fact, the guy who tells you,
I know you find that first wyverian, but he does not look like a gnome.
Oh no, he's not. Well, you can always tell a wyverian because they have pointy ears and 3 fingers. So the research division,
interesting.
That dude you met out in the wild who looks like a hunter.
That's what happens when you don't read text, kids.
Also,
you don't know what's going on.
And the thing is, this is years of lore. This is just like, hey, we're throwing you in it. Wyverians are a thing.
Yeah, it's true. They don't mess around.
I don't know what the significance of a wyverian is, but they're a thing.
Yeah, it's super cool, and the food aspect is like it's just like another thing to go out and farm and grind. I find just like you get into a new area, you start picking stuff up.
You're like, oh, herbivores, I need to kill them so I have raw meat.
Or I just have random stuff in my inventory, and when I talk to the chef guy, he's like, hey, I'll make things out of this or whatever.
Have you done any of the, just before we get to the proper hunt, have you done any of the side quests for food?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. There's some where you need to steal eggs and the wildlife whose eggs it is freaks out and starts chasing you, but you can only run so fast and you can roll. But if they hit you, you drop the egg and you have to start over.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
It is when you're running away from a Rathian.
I'm sure. Anything that's fast and flies probably
and it's
rough.
You're running like, oh, I'm going to take a shortcut through this tree network. I'm safe. And then you come out the other side, and there's the Rathian going like, you think so.
It's just waiting.
Or when it actually just burrows into the trees to get you, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, that's always
That's
fun.
a dangerous thing. So, yeah, there's like a whimsy quest. You're running with this giant egg, and the running animation, it's like your guy's bouncing on his tiptoes almost like he's a comic villain.
Oh, and your handler is super pumped about everything.
She loves food probably more than you do.
It's true.
She'll be like, hey, can we...
Well, and she's just super excited when you're out in the world doing quest stuff as well. She's just always pumped about everything.
Occasionally gets into trouble a couple of times.
Lightly.
Well, you know,
it all does serve to make you look super cool doing cool guy stuff.
My guy looks amazing when he's
flipping
doing
around and like shooting grappling hooks and stuff and saving everyone.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's a very, very solid hero fantasy going on.
It is pretty good. The armor sets make you look nice and heroic and whatnot. And the character creator, oh my goodness, very robust.
Oh, that's right. I did not have enough time to mess with that. I'm glad they gave you three character slots. Yeah, so I can dig back into that and mess around. Very robust character creation.
Absolutely.
Like from tattoos and you can if you make a chick character, you can totally have a full goatee. Facial hair.
They said you can use
giant chops.
It's gender fluid. You can.
It's gender fluid. Yes.
There's nothing's locked to genders. So you could put like goatees on women and give like.
What if I'm like animalkin though? Like, how do I make that?
You just say I'm animalkin.
That's true.
That's. It's in Monster Hunter. You don't want to be animalkin.
I don't.
They'll probably hunt you.
Stupid jokes.
Yes. But let's get into the hunt.
Yeah. So
your weapons.
Do you ever hunt in this hunting game?
Yes.
Dan?
Right. Yes, we do. But first, you have to pick your weapons.
Oh, right.
So what's your main weapon, Joe?
I use the insect glaive as my quote-unquote main weapon. It's the one I'm kind of just focusing on. I have started to build longswords as well, but I have not messed with it yet.
You want to do that spirit slash?
Yeah. I lack slicing and damage, so but the bug glaive is definitely my joy.
Yeah.
You have this glaive and you have an insect.
Think
on
Darth
your
Maul,
arm.
but like with blades on either end.
It's a glaive. Yeah, it's a glaive. It's a staff with blades on either end.
Not everybody knows what a glaive is, Joe.
They should know.
You're right.
They should know. And you have a bug as well. Your kinsect.
So many puns.
So many puns. It doesn't end. And each of these bugs have different like stats of their own. They have elemental damage types. They can poison. They can heal. They can buff you in different ways. And my favorite part of the glaive is you can use it to vault into the air and then do your combos in the air, bouncing off of the monster. And it is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird in that you use your kinsect as well to extract buffs from the monster. So you send it out, you mark the monster, that your bug goes out and bites it, takes this like buff essence, and then comes and gives it to you, and then you do it again, and you're trying to collect these 3 buffs
from location specifics.
Yeah, specific spots on each of the monsters, and then it kind of makes you God mode for 30 seconds or whatever, and you just start flipping around like a madman, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's great. That sounds like fun. Very heavy on jumping on the monster's back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you can mount the monster as well. So like once you've done enough damage, you can jump onto their back and just start stabbing the crap out of them, and it's a lot of fun. Eventually, because the goal is like knocking them down, so everyone could just jump in and do a ton of damage. But that's also a ton of fun.
Yes, I went with the heavy bow gun, which is basically almost like a flintlock rifle, but can also be a machine gun or a
machine gun version of it,
and fires different ammo types. So while Joe said he lacks slicing, I have ammunition that does slicing damage, where it hits, does like a point of damage, but then a few seconds later pops and just slices on the monster wherever I hit.
And it's cool. It looks like a little flare almost sticking
and then
out of the side, and it's just like sparking.
People can see where I've hit because a lot of my sticky ammo,
that too,
or like sticky bombs that do that. And I actually have to go out and farm. I can buy it for Zenny, which is the money, the currency. I can just go, there's a guy who sells everything, and I can just buy it from him. Or I can go out and there's certain plants that I've gotten used to seeing Slashberry is the one for slicing ammo.
Yeah.
I just run by, snag that, and I've set it to auto craft, and it'll just craft. So on certain fights, certain monsters like Legiana, for example, I know there's 2 Slashberry plants right on the way up, so I burn through that ammo at the beginning of the fight. I run out, and then as we're getting up, as it's flying back to its nest, I know we're going to end up there anyway. I grab one of those plants, and I'm basically full on my slashing ammo again. Because it autocrafts. Cool. It autocrafts it. So you can do that with everything, healing potions, things like that, which is real handy when you're running away from a monster and you're like, oh, there's an herb. Boom. Oh, there's honey. Now I have a mega potion.
And I love it too because you can just do it on the fly. You don't. There's not like some things do have a little bit of an animation to them when you're gathering.
Like mining and
ores, when you're mining,
picking through bone piles.
Smack a thing with it. Or things that you can farm multiple times have more of an animation to them.
Things involved in crafting generally.
Yeah, that too. Well, except a lot of like the berries and stuff you can just run by and snag. You literally don't have to take any time. You'll just like your character will just throw its hand out, snatch it, and you're still
super
sprinting
convenient.
along. Yeah,
which I guess is something that is new to Monster Hunter World is before you had to stop for everything.
Ooh, that's terrible.
Right. Well, I mean, it was a PS2 game that went primarily handheld.
But it's there are 14 weapon classes?
There are 14, so you have...
We don't need to list everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, basics, I mean...
you got your swords, there's lances, there's kind of like more tanking-oriented stuff.
Gun lance, dual hatchets,
guns,
which are just...
bows. Yeah, there's something for everyone.
Right.
As far as
most of the weapons, though, are fairly... know what you're doing when you hit the button.
And that's kind of a part of the gameplay. That kind of Dark Souls style. You're committed to these animations. Like it's like you might think if you haven't played a Dark Souls game that it's kind of clunky.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's very deliberate. It's
animation priority is what
animation priority, sure. And you just needed to kind of be committed to what you're doing because these things, like especially if you have like a slower, heavier weapon,
right?
You're committing to.
You'll see me in a lot of the footage that we're playing that I have to stop and reload, and if I do that at the wrong time, which is often, I just get punished for it, just slapped around.
Yeah, and for me, I have to resharpen my blade every so often after you do so much damage. I mean, you're smacking on these monsters like lots of bone, lots of spikes, and weird armor. Your blades go dull, and it takes a solid 5 seconds to resharpen your blade. And eventually, these things can
we've seen some
you can modify stuff to make these things faster and quality of life differences. But
but it's a game about engaging the monster and knowing when to disengage with it. Like I have started doing this thing like, oh, I'm in some serious trouble. I need a few seconds. I am actually going to waste time I'm going to use my my limited amount of paralysis ammo and the build up on the monster, because you can only every time you like paralyze a monster, it takes more to paralyze them if you're using like ammo and traps and things like that. So I will paralyze the monster, turn around, heal, and reload a couple of weapons instead of just doing damage. Where if I was in a multiplayer group, I would just disengage and heal, disengage and reload a couple of things.
Yeah.
So it's,
multiplayer in this game does change how you approach every situation.
Change, but does not make it easier.
Right, because it just scales up and makes it harder.
Well, it's funny because like you will be like, okay, I'm going to reload this, and the moment I crouch down and start working the bolt, I almost feel like the monster just looks over and goes, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, they definitely do react to that. Like I have definitely, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I have to sharpen my blade now. I can't I can't slum it up anymore.
Right.
And I'll bounce out, and then as soon as I initiate the animation, the monsters will just turn right at you, see that you're sharpening, and they'll just charge.
Odogaron is a fantastic fight. I love that fight, but he punishes you for doing that. Anytime you're not hurting him or dodging him, he is on you. And it is,
and he wrecks you if you're not prepared, because he does he has a lot of bleed effects, and each monster in this is like super unique. Like some of them look kind of similar, but they all have different like attack patterns and different armor types and ways that they will regenerate or react to damage.
Right. There's a guy who's in a boneyard who, if you break bones off of him, you do more damage. But he will go and roll back. He's like basically covered in tar.
Yes.
And he will go roll around in bone piles to build up his armor again.
It's cool.
It's a good fight.
It's really cool. And every fight so far has been pretty interesting. They start you out pretty basic, but even that, not really that much of a joke. And then they scale these fights up as well. Like as we get farther in, you'll have higher ranked versions of these monsters to go up against.
Let's just jump to difficulty and progression then.
Sure.
Because where I'm at right now, like I said, I've got a quest to fight Rathalos and Diablos, and
2 giant dragons.
Right, and Rathalos I got through. Diablos is kicking my butt. I just 5 minutes the fight's over in a 50-minute hunt.
I'm excited. I have not had a chance to look at Diablos yet. I know he's next on my quest log, but I have not gone and,
I should
and
say
looked
this.
at the cutscene.
Each weapon makes certain monsters more difficult than others, or more challenging in certain ways.
And that has been very true.
That's been
very evident because
right,
sometimes when we're playing together, it's pretty easy to tell that you having a gun is a huge advantage.
Legiana flies, and I'm like, whatever, I can still hit you.
Where that I have a fun time with that fight because I can stay up in the air with the insect glaive and I can bounce around up there, but I'm not doing a ton of effective damage when I'm in the air.
Right.
But it's still a lot of fun because I'm still engaged.
Like the dual hatchets and sword and shield classes have a little bit a tougher time with that, and you got to kind of draw it down and use slingers.
It's interesting. I wonder how they. We should ask. We know people that play those.
Yeah. Let's say, how are you dealing with this?
How do you do a Legiana solo where it's mostly in the air?
Right.
And then there was Paolumu as well, flies quite a bit. I don't know how non-range capable classes can get into that. It's interesting.
I broke his wings. I sliced his wings. I just put slicing damage on his wings, and it
cripples him.
He flew less once I did that.
That's the other thing. That's a great part of the hunts where you can target specific stuff. Like if something is giving you trouble, I found the tar guy that rolls around in the bones. If I broke his tail off, he could no longer whip his tail at me and shoot bones at me.
Right.
So that made getting up close and smacking him a lot easier once I was able to cut that tail off.
And I did some research. I fought Diablos enough that I actually have some decent research data. There's a guy, as you fight, builds up research.
Oh yeah, that's the other part I
was checking
about
notes.
This game.
My most effective damage is on his wings. I can break his tail, which I kind of want to do anyway, because that increases your rewards at the end. You get a bonus reward for breaking the parts that are breakable,
and then you can then carve that part.
If something and stuff has a chance to drop off, the tail always is. But my most effective damage is against his wings, as my gun ammo.
Yeah, makes sense.
I need to focus on that. So that's something that I'll be focusing on as I come back around on him. But yeah, so I'm stuck on him. So. That's the cool thing is the difference in how that fight goes for certain people. Whereas Rathalos, it was a tough fight, but I felt like I was just thrashing him. There's a lot of effectiveness that the heavy bow gun that I could do to him, but he does poison damage and fire damage, which can just wreck you in a heartbeat.
Especially when they stack them up.
Yeah, when they stack them up.
If you're on fire and poison, man, your health just starts to drain.
The thing that kept happening to me against Rathalos in the subsequent, because of Diablos, I'm now going back and farming Rathalos gear to make the Rathalos set, which I think will be a better set than the Legiana set, which is gorgeous, but really doesn't do anything for me. Which we'll get into crafting here in a second. But Rathalos has this combo where he poisoned me, and then he'll fly into me and stun me, which means you're losing health. You've just taken a big hit, so your health is almost gone, but you're stunned,
and
so you can't take you can't take an antidote.
And you're just furiously shaking the stick back and forth, trying to wake yourself up. And that's one thing I really like. They make a lot of these status things very interactive.
Yeah.
So if you are stunned, you can wiggle the stick back and forth to try and get yourself to slap yourself in the face, or
if you're on fire, you roll to put
yourself out on fire. I wish you could do something with poison. That's too bad.
The thing that gets you on poison is the time it takes to drink the antidote.
It takes to drink is the time enough that you get hit again.
There's a point where you're like, I'm not going to drink this antidote because there's not enough time to drink it. I'm already dead. That's just it.
Yeah.
When you get bleed, you have to crouch.
Oh, is that how you get rid of bleed?
You're the second person to say to me, is that how it is? It took me 10 minutes and I was just losing health constantly. It's you have to crouch and not move.
Interesting.
That's how bleed.
Stop moving to prevent bleed.
Since Odo Garon,
it's a bleed. He bled the crap out of me, and it was super irritating because I'm like, I have nothing no potion or anything that I can drink that stops bleeding. I haven't even seen
and you have to dodge him, so you're taking damage by dodging
because you have to roll. So I mean, luckily I still have my huge food buff, and the bleed does wear off after an amount of time, even if you are moving.
Right.
So. I just ended up dodging a lot because I was up in the air and I can avoid most of their attacks if I'm just up in the air until I can knock them down, and then I'll just smack them. So I feel like I'm cheesing it with the insect glaive a lot of times because I can almost negate every attack that anybody has because I'm just not around on the ground where they're
Which tells me that like
shooting fire.
your time will come. That's what
it must.
I felt
It
early
must.
game. Heavy bowgun being ridiculous. Diablos is the first guy who's really just been like, no, you have to get better.
I like after fighting Odogaron, he's a big red dragon dog thing, and he looks really cool.
And he's savage and
he's
fast.
so fast. Like, even with the glaive, where I'm able to avoid most of his attacks,
He's already on you again.
He's already on you, and if I did get hit, it would take a solid 40% of my health.
Yeah.
Every time.
Sounds about right.
And I'm just like so wrecked.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still got him down. It just was a headache. I did like faint a couple of times and have to run back out and get him. But like, it's kind of fast. I didn't know how you did it with the heavy bowgun, as it is pretty slow.
Well,
you're not super mobile.
No, you are not mobile at all.
You're not super mobile,
especially because it depends on which bowgun you're using.
There's a heavy and a light version.
Well, but also as you get again crafting, you craft different types of bowguns, and they have different recoils and different ammo types you can use. The ammo types I can use has a lot of kick. And so I'm knocked around just by firing it, and repositioning is difficult sometimes. And so Diablos, that's why Diablos wrecks me, is I cannot move fast enough to get out of his. I'm still figuring out how to move.
Still figuring it out.
How to get out of his stuff, because I can
watch. We co-op and it's just going to be chump.
Well, yeah, because everything is. But here's the thing: is everything is soloable with every weapon. They make sure of that.
Yeah, everything is viable, but it just like the level of difficulty that you're going to hit up front is very much affected by what weapon you're choosing.
And it's not that it asks you to learn; it demands that you learn.
Yeah, if you want to keep going, you got to just figure it out. And sometimes it is that maybe you just don't have enough armor and you need to upgrade, or you need to go farm up a higher base level defense set that has better perks that maybe work with your guns more.
Farm up, do investigations, which gives you armor spheres. Armor spheres can be used to upgrade
which kind of
your gear.
leads us to the crux of this game, right?
It's crafting. Yes.
Like, you have to craft. Like, it's all about crafting. It's all about hunting.
It's where your stats come from.
It's just this vicious cycle of you killing dudes, carving them up, and using their bits to make your loot.
That always has a visual style that represents the monster mostly.
Yes.
And then also as we're getting into the higher rarity sets, they have set bonuses a la Diablo or WoW that if right now there are only 3. I think is the highest I've seen is 3.
Really?
3-piece sets.
Oh,
so
3-piece sets. Okay.
As you're wearing,
I didn't realize we had access to any sets yet.
Oh yeah,
I have not been looking that close.
Yes,
I've been very specific at the things that I'm looking at as far as building.
Well, Anjanath has a set.
Okay.
Anjanath set is if you're low health, you get adrenaline. Adrenaline makes you kind of like, I think it's a stamina recharger. Anyway,
that's cool.
You get smacked hard, you get an adrenaline boost.
Right.
Legiana is better luck on drops.
I love that.
It's cool.
I love that.
And it has worked out all right.
I've been using it, and I think it's legit.
I think it is.
Okay, so I had to farm these fish, and I needed, and it wasn't,
the fishing is good.
It wasn't even fishing though. It wasn't even fishing.
Oh.
It was the Grajao,
by
Gerardados, and I kept killing them and farming and skinning, and all I would ever get was their skin.
Yeah.
And I needed whiskers off of I assume they're weird catfish.
And you switched to Legiana.
I just happened to be advancing, kind of ignoring this next upgrade, and did finally get the Legiana legs built and equipped them because I already had a couple other Legiana pieces, and went out and immediately I almost only got the whiskers. Yeah,
oh, nice.
I only had one skin when I did it, and it seems to actually be giving me the higher rarity stuff.
That's cool.
At a pretty good clip,
which is good because I need to grind a bunch of Rathalos gear. Which there's a rarity item called the plate.
Right. Yes.
I think I have 4 or 5 of them, and my first Rathalos kill, my first Odogaron kill, and I want to say the Anjanath as well. I've got all their plates.
I think this may be a broken stat. Like, we may need to farm it up more.
Well, but here's the thing: is at a point it no longer is as good at. It's going to get left behind at some point. It has to.
Sure, but I mean, just like the getting the rare drops, off of these monsters when you're needing to find like for me, I'm kind of held back on getting my fire glaive because I need claws off of Anjanath, and I have not ever seen a claw on Anjanath. Yeah. I maybe did and used it in an actual piece.
I wonder if you're
getting
too high level gear and you're skipping claws.
It might be. But to make the glaive that I'm looking to build,
you need claws.
I need them, and they're not dropping. So I think there is another avenue for me to farm it up by using fangs, but I need more of them. And
to do the straight craft as opposed
to just straight craft it rather than upgrade into it.
Same thing as the Legiana heavy bowgun. I can roll back my upgrades and go into a different tree to get there for less, or I can craft it straight.
The trees on these weapons are in depth,
and
they all change.
Like the armor,
and like armor, they do change the cosmetics of the weapon, so you can have really cool looking stuff with really cool effects on them.
Yeah,
and it's all through just getting out there and killing more monsters.
Always more monsters to kill. And investigations give you money. They give you upgrade paths, and as you complete the missions themselves, and how you complete the mission makes a difference on the gear that you get, or the bits of the monster that you get. There's a whole killing a monster, you carve it and you get some items, but then completing the quest and how well you complete the quest. Basically, generally you have 3 times you can faint. Every time you faint, the tier of rewards drops 1.
Which is great. I love it. I love that they have added a punishment sort of for like not because you get lazy in modern gaming. Like death is not really that much of a punishment.
Yeah, but this one it absolutely is.
This one it's just like it's kind of just smacks you. It's like you get a slap every time you let yourself go.
And there's some definitely heartfelt apologies that come from everybody when they're like, because
if you're in a group and like it's these now the feints are shared across all 4 people.
So you have 4 people
in your group,
and
you only have three feints, and every time you faint, everybody loses.
Which
it's a great dynamic, and it still feels good, and it's still a lot of fun.
And it's funny because I end up feeling pity for the people. Like it's not like I've done it before. I think we've all done it
we've
before,
all died.
We'll being the guy who faints twice in a mission,
right? When you only have 3 feints,
and you're the guy who fainted twice, and you're like, guys, I'm terrible.
I'm that guy. Sorry,
I'm that guy. I feel miserable, but when someone else is doing it, I'm not angry. It's just like, oh, bro, it's okay.
It's like don't worry, we're just gonna do this again.
We're gonna have to have faint counseling. Just being like, nah, bro, it's okay. Everybody faints. I'm gonna have to write a book.
Everybody faints. It's the new hot children's book.
Right, for hardcore parents, like you will hunt monsters.
Oh man, and the crafting just kind of seems endless, and it also has like multiple rankings that we're not even into.
We're looking at some higher, like people are starting to put out videos on what the end game kind of stuff looks like, and there's
crazy stuff.
There's gear that have set bonuses, and there's gear that you can slot the bonuses you want into it, and some of the color variations look good, and
it's kind of right up our alley. It's farm. Just get out there and farm.
But
kill stuff that is incredibly satisfying to kill, especially because it is very Dark Souls in that these things have massive health pools, and you're chipping away.
And you can't see them.
You can't see. You see numbers popping off of the like little damage numbers, but you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how much. It's all based on tells from the monster, how much damage it's taken. Is it limping? Is it trying to run back to its nest and sleep? And
is it tired?
Yeah. Is it tired? Is it just sitting there trying to
huffing
catch its
and puffing?
Breath? Yeah, it's great, and it's really satisfying to learn these tells, learn their animations, and when attacks or which attacks are coming, because like each of them have like kind of a one killer attack that if you get hit by it, you just get one shot.
Anjanath feels like he has a couple.
He's got a couple for sure. Each one has just like a different moveset, different attacks, and it's really satisfying to kind of just do Dark Souls boss battles over and over.
Right.
It's like a boss rush, but it's incredibly satisfying because you get like cool loot.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. It's I don't know what to call it, but it's a hell of a thing. And the boss fight. I mean, each weapon you choose completely changes how you fight.
Yeah.
And so you not only do you have to pick a weapon, you have to master it.
Yeah, it's almost a class in itself.
It is because your classes.
Each of them have some of them have some really unique resource systems that will charge up your power and make and so you have to balance generating whatever the resource is, like me with my Kinsect grabbing buffs,
right,
things like that.
My gun is ammo, and here's the thing: is I do struggle. I've gotten to the point where I need to be on a specific ammo right at the same time, and I have to take my thumb off of the one D-pad or from the stick to the D-pad, and you will, like, if you see any video of me, like it feels
I have found myself at times like pulling a hand off of one side of the controller just to like tap the D-pads and change items.
Yeah, but imagine that, but doing that for effective damage, I have to be using my other hand doing that as well. So sometimes I'm just doing, I need to figure out a claw
like
grip.
A weird claw grip. That's great.
But I love that it challenges me that way. At some point, I'm going to have to figure out how to organize my ammo so I can just almost be intuitive about, okay,
true, maybe that's what you need. You just need
click
to
over twice, roll,
yeah.
click over 2 more, and just kind of and stop carrying ammo I don't need, because I find myself carrying more ammo than I need, because I'm like, well, if things go bad, I want the shotgun ammo, even though I don't want to be anywhere close to that
effective range. Yeah.
So yeah, and then like I know the dual hatchets. I'm fascinated with the dual hatchets. I might be my
dual
second
blades. Dual blades is pretty
because it's you're managing stamina while you're building up meter that you go into demon mode, which is you just flip the hatchets around backwards.
It's so
but
anime.
if you fill up a meter, you go into archdemon mode, and your combos all have 1 extra hit, and you're faster, and you're doing all these savage
around
moves
like Naruto all the time.
But then your stamina really depletes, and so you only have so it's managing recharging stamina, building a meter, and then making sure your meter hits when you have a effective damage uptime.
So weird.
The gun lance and or lance and gun lance is all about knowing when to do your nothing will stop me like shield
your
block,
heavy blocks,
stand firm or something it's called. It's just
Lancer is another one that I find really interesting. Like you just have this giant shield and this giant lance, and you just sit and poke the monster in the face.
I know what you're about to say there. Get up and boss crotch.
Boss crotch it. Effective damage. You got to hit those weak spots.
And one of the guys we were talking about, like someone was struggling with it, and one of the guys we're playing with was like, "Oh, just stand between his legs." You're like, what? Like that's what I do. As I stand between his hind legs, he can't hit me with his fire attacks. And I'm stabbing him in the just basically
stabbing him in the junk the whole time,
or stabbing him in the Achilles tendon.
Oh, that too,
because it was a sword and shield.
Sure.
Just slicing the back of the legs there, whatever. It was doing good damage, and he soloed it, so it works.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm I'm itching to maybe branch out a little bit so I can kind of mix it up. Running with 2 glaives is fine. Like everything is viable in this. It's really good. But I'm like, I could totally be just bringing something else to the table.
Right.
So I'm probably going to start working on that longsword and hopefully start chopping tails off.
Yeah, that slashing attack.
That slashing attack is really cool.
The spirit.
You have this insane. If you're familiar with Sephiroth from Final Fantasy,
it's
basically that sword. It's super, super unreasonably long, and it's kind of like a medium speed. And you have to really commit to these really long sweeping attacks.
But you also have a draw attack, so you pull it out of the sheath off your back and do an attack in one motion,
which is kind of cool. And there's actually gear that enhances draw damage. So there's really cool like ways that it all plays together.
Yep.
And also with that longsword, I really love that like leap into the air and then just do this massive downward slash, and then
2 seconds later,
the slash appears. Slash a la like kung fu style stuff happens. It's really cool.
Or if like the someone gets cut in half effect in horror movies,
it's just so fast that they're still together until like 5 seconds later,
and then they slide apart
in half.
That's what it. Yes,
I want that.
It's so good.
I want that in my life.
Well, we really want to get back to our.
We do want to get.
But
back.
I will mention one thing because
okay, fine.
Right. My crazy theory.
Your
about
unifying theory.
I love doing these unity theories.
Unifying theories.
So here's what I just the whimsy kind of put me onto something here. But I think there's a cycle at play in Monster Hunter in that, and I kind of alluded to it before. Is I think this is where Pokemon ends up. Because as they fight, as they get through the deeper into Pokemon games, you get mega evolutions and super evolutions and gem evolutions, and you're doing all these things that make these Pokemon stronger. And I think it's something like you get a Mewtwo or something that's just smart enough being like, wait, what if we use these moves on humans?
We could take over the world.
And it's Planet of the Apes. Essentially.
Yeah.
And then you have the Pokemon that start just savaging people, and people are, they let their Pokemons out, and some of the Pokemons fight, like the Meowths basically become the
Palicos.
Tell me the difference between a Meowth and a Palico.
Horrifying.
But then you have the legendary Pokemon go off and become Elder Dragons and basically evolve into these super Pokemons. And then you brought up something that made me kind of think that it also resets.
Oh yeah,
as they capture,
it's actually the other one. It's the cyclical version where
they capture and domesticate.
As we capture and domesticate and kill all of these monsters, they become as they become domesticated, they kind of
devolve
into Pokemon.
Yeah,
and they're just a bunch of household pets that like we make fight for our
and
amusement.
then we make our children go out and have their coming of age, which what you could argue is a relic of becoming a hunter. Is you have to go fight with Pokemon because that's what our culture is, and then it starts over again. And finally, when something happens and some kid's killed by a Pokemon, and everybody goes, "Wait, what? Maybe only adults should fight Pokemon." Oh no, adults are getting killed by Pokemon. Oh no, our civilization's falling apart.
Oh no, there's like Pokemon PETA that just like want to release them all and let them live in their natural habitat.
But at some point, civilization falls because it's a Pokemon-based economy,
yes.
And so we just start wearing the skins of Pokemon to fight Pokemon. Well, they have elemental weaknesses.
It fits too well.
It's kind of
too well.
But the one thing, the unifying thing, is the whimsy.
yes.
Is everybody like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Everybody's really excited about.
We'll just go eat some steak and kill some monsters. It'll be cool.
Real lighthearted.
But yeah, all this has happened before. All this will happen again. It's Monster Hunter Pokemon. Also, Pokemon is a pocket monster. It is a monster that's been introduced to your pockets.
Oh man!
So
only because you're able to like digitize it into a small ball that then shrinks and you can stick on your.
Well,
belt.
Let me ask you: if we had a computer in Monster Hunter World, would we be able to digitize it? We don't know because it doesn't exist. The Pokemon know this and destroy the technology.
Tron Hunter.
They basically become like the anti-Skynet and say this is all done. Like you will not save us. You will not. This will not save you. Is essentially
yes
what they do.
Oh man. Well, thanks for joining us on Unifying Theory Story Hour.
Right. Anyhow, yes. Thank you, everyone. I don't know how the Backcast is going to go in the coming weeks. I promise to start playing other things at some point.
I think we're gonna have to like force ourselves to mix it up, and otherwise we're just gonna end up talking about Monster Hunters for a month straight.
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, we're kind of things are still changing, so
expect to have Monster Hunter segments in the next few Backcasts.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while because I heard somebody say that there's not a single Monster Hunter game that they played that they put less than 200 hours into,
which is insane.
But at the same time, I can see how that's a thing already.
Insane.
I could see how you would get there. But that's a story for another time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back again soon with, videos on the channel, but also with another Backcast. Thanks, everyone.
Catch you guys later.